to the school board. And outside of that, we'll go ahead and get started.
All right, everybody. So this is going to be our first meeting. Yeah, you can see it. It's okay. Our first meeting of just the regular voting meeting. Okay, so Dave can put in input, but we will go through them like normal. All right. Everyone stand to the side. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I think we lost somebody on the phone, so just give us a moment.
Yeah.
9531. Hello. Are you good?
Good. You hear us, Kelly?
I can't, I dropped there. I think I got you now.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Tammy, will you call the roll, please?
Carrie Armagoss here, Megan Dreher here, Jen White
Here.
Diane Page,
Here.
Corey Sherman,
Here.
Lena Southworth here, Jermaine Stump here, Kelly Terwilliger,
Here.
and Mark Bertel.
Here.
All right. So our next item of business is to approve the minutes for November 16th, 2020 for the workshop and regular meeting, the reorganizational meeting on December 1st, the regular workshop and board meeting on December 1st, and the special meeting that we had December 21st. So that was a lot of reading. So does anybody have any additions or corrections to make to any of those minutes? Nope. All right. Somebody want to make a motion?
Make a motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. All of those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right. So for public participation tonight, we do have one person on the agenda, Mr. Scott Wenzel. I'm going to have you come up here closer so that they can hear you on the phone. And if you want to state your name and where you live at for the record, please.
My name is Scott Wenzel. I live in Hamilton, PA. I'm here today because part of the program that you guys started at the beginning of the year with COVID-19 was the distance learning program, which is why I'm here, because I myself am a healthcare worker and I have a problem that the school board just openly voted to close this program down to other kids and people that, you know, are in my field of work, that are frontline health workers that are working more than 40 hours a week during this coronavirus, and at places of my employment, a lot of us have been exposed to COVID-19. Yeah, and I have an issue, and not only for the liability of my own children, but the liability of the other children in this district, taking the chance, passing it back and forth by sending my kids back into regular school. And yet this is the only school in the district right now, in PA period, that's giving a problem about their kids wanting to be taught at home. And I have a major issue with that, because my children, plus any of my other fellow friends that go to the school and their kids that I know, which is a lot of my family, and that are being openly exposed and don't have the resources nor the help to do it because the school's not willing to work. You guys started the distance learning, and then not even a month and a half into it, you guys close it down. And it screws all the parents that are sitting here trying to do this and do what they feel is right to protect their kids. And I'm sorry, both of my children that go to school here have weak immune systems, and I'm not willing to risk sending my kids into school. So if you guys are going to shut down the distance learning program, then I think you guys need to figure out another alternative for children that do not want their parents that don't want to send their kids to school. Because you guys have done it for the last 3 months, and I've been on it, and my kids have been doing their work and learning from home. And now all of a sudden, just because Governor Wolf says that it's okay to enroll other kids back into school of elementary. No, that ain't always the case. Because a lot of these families in this local area survive by working in the healthcare facilities. And every healthcare facility around the world, nursing homes, everything is being hit with this hard. And it is too much of a risk to send our children back into school like this.
Did I hear someone have a question for Mr. Wenzel?
Does
Anybody?
Mr. Wenzel know that we have 5 programs available for him to put his students into?
Yes, he does.
Yes, I know that, but that also means the other problem that I have financially, I don't have the money to buy internet. I'm a single parent taking care of 3 kids on my own. I mean, it's no big secret. Everyone in this school knows what happened to my children last year and why I am in the situation I'm in.
Nope.
Okay, for the most part, most of everyone on the board knows me, knows my kids. My daughter was abused by her mother that went to the school. And I had my children pulled from me, and I've fought for the last year and a half to get them back. And now that I have, I'm on my own as a single parent taking care of things. And I don't have financially the money to go out and get internet just to do it, when I don't see what the issue is with if teachers were able to print off the work and give it to them, and the student was still completing them every week, and they were coming back at the beginning of the week like they were supposed to, and their work's still getting done. What's the difference from doing it now? You guys did it pretty much all year now.
The difference is that we as a school district decided that there was time that we were going to allow our kids to come back into the district and come to school face-to-face, because everybody at this table agrees that face-to-face learning is the best learning for students. Now, when we closed, we still, we supplied those packets for you, right?
Yeah.
So now we think that, like some kids their grades are suffering for not being in school. And so we felt as a district and as a school board member that it would be best for the kids to go back face to face so that they could have that learning.
Well, I'm not objecting to indoor parents that want to send their kids back, but I still feel you guys as a board members and in charge of this school district should be having it to where parents that aren't comfortable sending their kids back in due to the COVID-19 vaccines, and really, because I'm going to tell it flat out, if I end up being forced to send my kids back into the school district here, and one of them tests positive for COVID, I am going to sue this school, because it is a liability on their health risk, as well as it is a liability to any other student, as well as it is to my liability.
We're taking a look at all of the students that go to AC Valley and the decisions that this board has made. We absolutely have taken the health considerations, health and safety of all of our students and our staff members into consideration when we made the decision that it was time for the kids to come back to school. Kids learn better here in school with their teachers. And our job, our mission here is to educate students. So the best way that we feel we can educate students is to have them here. And I understand your concern on, that you're concerned about the health of your kids. We get that. We understand that. But our decisions have to be about all of our students together, and the best education we can give them is here in school with their
Okay, well, where
teachers.
does that leave the parents that are working, the frontline workers, that are healthcare workers that have to that are coming in contact with COVID on a daily basis and coming back in their house, and you want to send all the kids back to school? What happens if I catch COVID, come home from work, and I give it to one of my kids and it comes in here? So there's where you guys aren't thinking of the community and your kids, because you're not thinking of the safety hazards of the families that are healthcare workers and are going in front of COVID and dealing with it on a daily basis.
Well, I think you and I will agree to disagree on that fact.
Well, I haven't seen nothing from this board to show me otherwise. I mean, I came in here options over a week ago that I spoke with the superintendent as well, with multiple of the other staff here as well. And, you guys ain't giving really much of an option. It would be different if you guys would have kept the distance learning program open. Then parents that are in the situation like me, myself, wouldn't have an objection to it, because they're still learning their in-person class. It's just over a computer.
And do you realize when we did that distance learning, sir, that we had teachers working 18 hours a day?
Well, that's what they're paid for.
Absolutely, they're not. They are not paid to work 18 hours a day. They are paid to teach and to help their kids during that time.
Okay,
They're not paid to work 18 hours a
okay, answer
day.
me this question. Why are they being paid working 18 hours a day? If it's an online recording and it's substitute and you're working, because based on what the distance learning program was supposed to be, was to learn at home. So if they've already been teaching for the parents that were sending their kids into school, face-to-face learning, and then at the beginning of the year, and the parents that were doing the distance learning, why are they working 18 hours a day? That's not our fault as a student, as the parents or as a student, because it's subject to record the classroom activity of your class for each class that they do. They watch it on the computer, they complete their work. It gets sent in at the end of the day. You guys shut that program completely down and screwed multiple families over.
That wasn't what our program was.
It was distance learning.
Go
Yeah, but
ahead,
it
Kelly.
wasn't, the teachers didn't
Mr.
record their.
Russell, I think what you need to understand is we're following the guidelines of the state governor, the chairman of the health department in PA. We're not doing anything that isn't recommended by the state. We're in complete compliance with what the state is recommending for education for students.
Okay, then why is it also in the state that it gives every other school in Pennsylvania has given their kids the option that if they want to learn from home, they can?
Mr. Wenzel, I think that's a false statement.
Really? That's why
not
my
correct.
sister's
Mr.
sister?
Mascot, that's not correct. Carrie, did you have something to say?
Just that, you know, I have kids, that is not what our distance learning program was initially, was that the whole school day was just recorded and the kids at home could watch it later. That is not how that program operated whatsoever.
No, but that was one of the benefits of the distance learning,
None of
is that they were pre-recorded.
That it was not recorded. None of that was.
Okay, then how are you gonna sit here and tell me, how did I watch videos as well as I can go right outside and get my
You may have
content?
watched the teacher, if she recorded certain lessons, but it
Well-
wasn't the whole day that was recorded.
Well, every lesson that my kids did while they did the distance learning for the brief month before you guys took it, every class was recorded. Every single class for both of my kids that are students in the school were recorded. Because I do not get off work till the evening, so I don't get the chance to do my kids' schoolwork with them till the evening. And we do it in the evening before they go to bed. And every single class was recorded on that.
So, Mr. Wenzel, I understand that you've been given other options for your kids, and you know, I understand that you are upset. But this board has made the decision that we are not going to institute the distance learning program. The options are for your kids to be here in person.
But that's not an option.
Well, we have given you options. You have a decision to make now.
Please
whether
tell
you
me, how have I been given options? You're giving me one option, which is to send my kids back into school in the fear of them getting COVID. I'm asking you, all of you board members, and I really want an honest answer. Are you guys really willing to risk the lawsuit? Because I'm telling you, my lawyer and me have already went over. If one of my kids tests positive for COVID-19, I'm going to sue the school for everything they got.
At this particular point, I'm gonna say that our discussion of this is over since you are threatening.
I didn't threaten, I said a fact, if my kids catch COVID,
At
and
this
I still
particular
wasn't given
point,
all my options.
at this particular point, we're gonna end this discussion as the time is up for public participation for person. And
Okay,
we
well,
appreciate you coming to talk with us.
Then what my options are supposed to be, because that was where you left off, and you didn't give me my options.
Yeah, we talked about cyber school, homeschool, or the day program. That's all we got for you. So.
Okay, well, then I'll be taking up the Board of Education over you guys. Worst school district in the world.
All right, is there anybody else that would like to speak to the board tonight? No? Okay. All right, we're gonna move on then. This has the presentation here from Mr. Turley, but that was last week.
Yeah, that was last week.
Okay, so we have no presentation tonight.
No, there's somebody here from the public. Did you want to address the board?
He's good.
Mike's just a spectator.
He's just a spectator this evening. All right, any board concerns to come forward this evening? It's not really a concern that I have, but I'm just gonna give you a little bit of information. I know I've talked about being on the board president Zoom meetings with PSBA before. They are now going to start doing, an all school director Zoom meeting once a month. I'm gonna forward you all, an email so that you can sign up for that if you'd like to. This first one will be Thursday, January 21st at 1:30. Typically it's an hour long. They keep it to an hour. They're very good about that. Typically the first part is a discussion about some topic. And then what they do is breakouts, geographic area breakouts for part of it. And then you can talk in a smaller group, which is nice. I will be sending that email. Jim Somerville had just sent that to me today, so I'll send that out to all of you.
Did you say the 21st?
Yes, the 21st, Thursday, which I believe is the 21st. So, 1:30. And it's a Zoom meeting, real easy. You can turn your camera off and just listen, but I get a lot of good information out of attending the PSBA Zoom meetings that I have over the past few months. So I would just encourage you, if you have time in the middle of the day to do it, even if you can just listen in, that's fine too. So.
Karen, do they record those if we are working during the day?
I believe that they do, Kelly. I would have to touch base with Jim about that, but I believe that they do. And at least, and no matter what they do send out the chat discussion. And if there's any links or anything that they talked about during the discussion, they put all of those in that email that they send out later on. So if you're signed up for it, you will get the discussion links and all of that after that meeting is over. But I do believe that they are recorded, Kelly. I'll double check though.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, that was the only thing I had. I just wanted to make everybody aware of that. Anybody else? All right, consent agenda. We have on here the couple of workshops, sorry about that, for Linda Miller, that are the patent ones that are online, they're virtual. So a couple of them are retroactive, we would approve, and the other one is for April the 6th. And we do not have any additions for the sub list. So does anybody have any questions or concerns about the consent agenda? Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay, perfect. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, finance and purchase.
Do we have Grant here for?
No.
Under finance and purchase, I'd like to consolidate then A through I. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Item J, consideration to accept as presented by Mark C. Turnley, CPA, the single audit for the year ended June 30th, 2020. So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I think, okay, Kelly, was that an aye for, you accept it or you oppose it?
In favor. In favor, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay, not a problem. Opposed, any abstentions? All right, motion carries.
Item K, consideration to adopt a resolution wherein AC Valley School District will limit the tax increase to the state index of 4.1% as attached. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Item L, consideration to approve the budget timeline for the 2021-2022 school year as attached. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Item M, consideration to accept the following 3 state contracts for bidding purposes. PA State PEPPM, CoStars, and U.S. Community. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Item N, consideration to approve the Y-Tri online curriculum at a total cost of $6,210 to be paid for by the ESSER grant as attached. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Item O, consideration to approve the consulting agreement between KSL Group and the Allegheny Clarion Valley School District in the amount of $1,650 for E-rate Category 2 consulting services for the 2021-2022 E-rate funding year as attached. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Item P, consideration to accept the donation given to the Elementary Art Department from Mattern CPA LLC in the amount of $100, a Thanksgiving card contest. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Item Q, consideration to approve a certificate of deposit with Farmers National Bank in the estimated amount of $451,530, which is maturing on February 8th, 2021, at a new rate of 0.4% for 6 months. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes, it's abysmal. We thought when we had 1.25 it was bad, but, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Item R, consideration to accept the donation given to the elementary for school supplies from the Elmwood Volunteer Fire Department for firefighters in the amount of $300. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I mean, do you want to ask, Lisa?
That actually didn't come from the Hamilton Fire Department. It was the Scrubgrass Stone Church gave the $300 donation to the Hamilton Fire Department when the Hamilton Fire Department was having the school supply fundraiser. And so then the fire department sent us a check for $300. And so we assumed it was coming from the fire department, but Trevor just told us this week that it actually was coming from Scrubgrass Stone Church.
Were you guys able to hear that?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Good clarification. All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, personnel. Lena, will you do personnel?
Sure. Letter A, consideration to accept the letter of resignation as assistant softball coach from Denny Wexwell. So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? He's been the softball coach for quite a while, hasn't he? Yeah, I think we should send him
Since
as a,
it started,
yeah,
since we started.
I think so. So if we could send Denny from the board a letter just thanking him for his dedication to the program, I'd appreciate that. Anybody else? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Letter B, consideration to advertise for the vacated position of assistant softball coach. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Letter C, consideration to advertise for an assistant baseball coach. So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Letter D, consideration to approve the request of employee 108 to receive 6 days of paid leave under the Emergency Paid Leave Act from November 13, 2020 through November 20th, 2020. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Favor? Aye. Sorry. We're getting
I
feedback.
thought I heard voices down here.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Letter E, consideration to approve the request of employee 120 to receive 9 days of paid leave under the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act from December 1, 2020 to December 4, 2020. Wait, that doesn't seem right. That's not 9 days. That's 3.
December 4th needs change on there.
To what? Whatever the 9 days would be.
14.
11th.
I thought it changed on there.
Okay, so for those of you on the phone, it actually should be December 11th, 2020 on item E. Okay. All right, so Lena, could you do that again with the correct date?
Consideration to approve the request of employee 120 to receive 9 days of paid leave under the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act from December 1, 2020 to December 11, 2020. So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Letter F, consideration to approve the request from employee 204 to receive 8 days of paid leave under the Emergency Paid Sick Leave Act from December 9th, 2020 through December 18th, 2020. So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Letter G, consideration to approve to hire Andrea Stewart as Assistant Business Manager upon receipt of all appropriate documentation at a salary of $50,000. We're going to hire her as an Assistant Business Manager until June 30th, 2021, and then she will be the sole business manager beginning July 1, 2021. So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Sorry about that. All right. Instructional services. Carrie, will you do that, please? Sure.
Elementary report, Lori. Well, since our last meeting on December 21st, our big news is the kids coming back this week. So my report mostly focuses on that. As the kids were returning this week, we understood that they would be coming back to us with a higher than usual amount of social emotional issues, and knew that we had to address those first before we could tackle the academic piece, students that were behind on their work. So our focus first and foremost was on that piece, making sure that students were okay. And to do that, we had teachers plan lessons and activities to build social skills and community building activities in their classrooms, and then use that PBIS morning time for that kind of thing, as well as other times throughout the day. And we also added our logger days back into school this week. After discussing it with Mrs. Daly and asking her what she thought about it, we decided that he is one of our best mental health resources. The kids and staff look forward to logger days. And we added some extra measures to make sure that when students were visiting with logger, they were visiting one at a time, they were masked, so the social distancing was happening. It did shorten the amount of time students could spend with him, but they got a minute or two individually with Logger. I did accompany Marcia and Logger on their visits this week. They visit every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. They have a full schedule every day that they're in here. They don't see the same classrooms necessarily every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So I went around with them and, on a normal basis, Logger provides benefits to us like reducing school phobias, enhancing attendance, student cooperation, improved reading skills, as the students could read him without judgment. But the added layer of comfort that Logger brought this week to the students was especially valuable. I don't know if you all have taken a chance to see the video that I posted on Facebook. It's about a 3-minute video of Logger's visits from this week, the ones that I was able to attend. And just to see the looks on the kids' faces and see them hugging him. And I was able to listen in, as they have their conversations with Logger and Miss Marcia. And, it was very heartwarming and at times heart-wrenching. Overwhelmingly, they were just so glad to be back and to be with their friends and their teachers. So I wanted to share that with you because I want you to know I think that we did make the right decision. This week was confirmation of that. And maybe not for everybody, but I think overall, it was a good decision. We'll continue having Logger Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I was very comfortable with the social distancing and how everything went. And I can't thank you enough for supporting this program. I think we're fortunate to have this unique experience at AZ Valley Elementary, and I'm very appreciative that you approved that back when we did. It's becoming more and more valuable. As far as the academic piece, we formed kind of a win team of Jamie Simpson, Erin Barlett, Marcy Sunling, Kirsten Collins, and Lori Kersey, and made them available in every community during the regularly scheduled reading wing times. And they could work with any student who needed help. Each grade level decided how they would use that win team during that time to remediate and enrich reading and math. And mostly from that last timing period where we were remote. The WIN team members worked with students individually or in small groups to do makeup work, skill building activities, or reteaching concepts in math and reading. And in some cases, the way the grades used them is they had one of the team members cover the class while the teacher themselves worked with students who were struggling to do some interventions. So whatever worked best for each room. And that seemed to go really well this week in getting kids caught up before the quarter ended on Thursday. On Friday, we held our Q3 kickoff celebration as it was the first day of Q3. The students had earned a Q1 PBIS reward that they were to have had on October 30th, and then that was the first day that we shut down. So we did go back and give them that reward, which was a movie and snack in the morning. And then in the afternoon, I also shared this on the Facebook page, we had our first ever virtual assembly. We hosted the NED show. They zoomed into us from California and did a live presentation with the kids. And the teachers put it up on the smart boards. So the performer's name was Chad. He said he couldn't actually see all the kids while he was performing. At the end, when he did the questioning one-on-one, he could see them and talk with them. But he did sort of that Blue's Clues format where he would tell them to do something along with them. I could see all the classrooms in the conference and watch them interacting with him virtually as they were doing it. So it was pretty cool. Ned's message is to never give up, encourage others, and do your best. And the performer used humor, magic, and yo-yo tricks to convey that message. And the kids were really engaged and having a good time as that message was put across to them. And lastly, today, the PBIS team had a regrouping meeting to review some behavioral data and make some suggestions to the staff as to how to focus PBIS meeting time in the coming weeks. They were also able to reorganize our student reward system plans because a lot of that was put in place. We have to look at it and redo because we lost that whole quarter. We did end Q2, so the student body will be getting their Q2 reward. That's usually based on how full we fill that bucket over there, but they weren't here to fill the bucket. So we did base it on their attendance and their effort during the distance learning program and decided as a group that they had earned that reward. So they will be getting that reward soon. It's a surprise what they're getting, so I'm not going to reveal that. We will start the Starbucks Winners Program again tomorrow. We'll draw our winners at the beginning of the week and give them their prizes. And then the month of January, we'll have a winner that we will draw one name that student's classroom gets a prize for their entire class. So we come up with something special for them as well. Because that wasn't last, we did welcome Sarah Hiley to our staff this past week as well, and she has replaced Mrs. Sunday in the first grade classroom, as you all know. She did a fantastic job transitioning into there. The kids seem to really be taking to her. It was a very seamless transition. Feels like she's been here more than a week already. And Mrs. Sunday reported to me that she's very happy in her new role as the reading specialist as well. I'm happy to get used to seeing her all over the building. So I keep thinking, why isn't she in her room? And to wrap it up, I just want to personally thank you. In a regular year, you all donate your time. And I'm sure it's underestimated how much time you actually have to put in as board members. This year has been something that none of us bargained for and none of you probably signed up for. And you have worked tirelessly to help us out and figure out how to do this in the best way for our students. I just want you to know it's very appreciated. That's it.
Bill, secretary report?
I really have two specific issues that I wanted to discuss with the board tonight. And I'll start off with the senior trip. If all of you had a chance to observe the video that I believe David had sent to the board, you'll know that the students want to go to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. They want to leave on April 23 with a return date of April 26. That time frame is different than what we've done in the past. It wasn't like last year. We went, I believe it was in February, right before COVID broke. Typically in the past, it's always been at the very end of the year. So I'm not sure why exactly they chose April 23rd as the departure date. But I wanted to bring that information to the board to see if there are any concerns, what your thoughts are. I know it's just very sketchy right now as to what's going to happen in the future. Sending a bunch of kids even to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. I don't know if you've ever been there. In the summertime, it's a very, very busy place. I would imagine April 23rd is probably not going to be too busy, but we're still traveling outside of Pennsylvania, and there are a lot of questions to be answered in regard to what it's going to look like in that time frame. So Mrs. Rothen and the student council for the seniors wanted me to bring this information and keep you up to date as to what's going on, what they've been thinking, and they want me to try to get any feedback from all of you as far as what your thoughts are right now on the trip.
My concern is that they're leaving the state, and that if they leave, I mean, are they gonna have to quarantine for 10 days? So they're gonna come back, and then they're not gonna be in school for 2 weeks. Do I want them to go on their trip? Absolutely, 100%. Like, everybody knows I'm for the students. But my concern is, are they gonna quarantine when they get back? What happens if one of them tests positive when they're there? Are they taking negative tests before they go? Like, there's a whole list of things that need to be done. And then what happens if we agree to it and then all of a sudden there's a humongous outbreak and we decide that we're not sending them? Like, I don't want them to have any false expectations and be like, yeah, the board said they could go, the board said they could go, and then all of a sudden we say it's done. Like, we're already discussing not sending the baseball trip team if, the numbers continue to go. That's my concern. I just want, are they taking negative tests? Like, are they, what steps are they taking to ensure that?
I agree, Lena. We want them to go. We want them to do things, heaven forbid. My thing is, there's so many things you can do in the state of Pennsylvania. Why not look to do something in the state of Pennsylvania? You're not crossing state lines.
They are. They're looking at all their options.
And I think right now, with everything, so many unknowns, that if they said, we're gonna stay in Pennsylvania, go to Gettysburg, Valley Forge, even Philadelphia, as much as I hate to say that, because Philadelphia is a real hotspot too, but at least then we can say, you're not leaving the state, and we want you to go. And, even then, if they could wait a little bit longer into they pick the dates, that's probably a reason why they pick dates, but I personally would feel more comfortable if they just stayed in Pennsylvania.
I know that, they are very concerned themselves That's for sure. They're worried that they're not gonna get to go on a trip at all. I mean, let's face it, that is an entire possibility, right? I mean, if the country doesn't get this thing under control,
Absolutely.
I can't see, I worry about even April 23rd. As far as that date, that particular date, I think it's too soon. In my own, estimation of things, my own opinion. However, I mean, that decision is solely upon me for sure. And that's why we need feedback. That's why we need know what your concerns are so that, I can communicate that to them and, possibly they can come up with other options. I know they have a list of places that, they had on their radar. It's just that Pigeon Forge one was their number one choice.
So I guess a couple of my questions would be, are they using some kind of tour company? And if so, is there like a cancellation policy to that? And what are those parameters of that? I think that's another piece that we would need to know. And I would want to know why the dates, like if they could push it back for,
Yeah,
like
because if they did it in May, then outdoor dining would be more readily available, that type of thing. So, because you have a group of 30 people, where are they all going to go right now to even have a meal together?
right.
So you're going to have to separate them. If you have enough chaperones, how you going to handle that? So,
Yeah, I would want to know, why the dates and could they push them, further closer to graduation maybe, or, something like that. I had something else in my head and it went.
I think it's just too soon to give an answer on any of it.
Well, I think we need to have some more information. I mean, the same as we did for the baseball team, the more information they can give us, the better.
Right.
Well, they have certain cutoff time to bill that they need to get the money in, like a deposit or whatever. Is that why they want to know right now?
No, they're not expecting an answer tonight by any means.
Okay.
They just want to keep that line of communication open, get feedback so that they can slowly, make those correct decisions, the decisions that are going to actually get them taking a trip. So no, they do not want an answer tonight.
Okay, good.
I know just from having the conversation with my own child, when this came up, I said, you understand if you go out of state, right now, the guidelines are that you quarantine when you come back. So have you discussed other options? And she said, absolutely. We talked about doing, Hershey, Gettysburg, which does also have a lot of outdoor activities that they can do, maybe going into Philadelphia for a day, but at least staying within the parameters of the state. So they did discuss that, I think, with Mary, and it's certainly something that I think that the kids would be open to if we feel that it's not best for them to leave to a more populated area.
Yeah, and given right now we're in the middle of January and, we have a new administration that's making a lot of promises coming this week, it's hard to say, things will change as quickly as I'm sure as they have in the last, 9 months, 10 months. So, anybody have anything else that you would like them to gather, information you'd like them to gather for us?
I will take these questions then, get some answers. Again, communications, just trying to keep that solid. Now that we have, board meetings almost every other week or every third week, I think that we can, keep this line of communication open and come to some kind of conclusion that's going to be hopefully a positive one for these seniors. Thank you. My second item is, it's really, following along with what Mrs. Sherman said, echoing those sentiments about the issues with, the distance learning, the online learning, and the inequities and, the problems that are glaring. And it's not just in AC Valley, it's across the country. The fact that, we have students, of course, that I call them the haves, and we have students that are the have-nots, the ones that do not have the support networks at home, the ones that even in this short span of time, with this last span of online learning, just simply got crushed. I have no other words to put it. kids that, I'll give you an example of one that's in my head right now, a student that was pretty much a straight A student, that once they got into the online learning, just simply struggled, did not have that support network, and thus has, for the last quarter, 4% in one of the classes. Students that we've seen that struggle anyhow, and believe me, the high school has really, really worked hard. My PBIS team working really hard to try to provide supports to the students during face-to-face instruction. And now with these students coming back, it is just simply overwhelming. And some of these students are in such a hole that with our current grading scale, there's no way that they will be able to pass a core class if they are in that group for the year. To be honest, I mean, if I try to put myself in the place of that student, and my thoughts would be, why in the world should I even go to English class? I know I'm not going to be able to get out of this hole. So thus, I gave you this handout, and this is just an example of other schools in the local area that some of them have done just simply because of COVID, but a lot of them already have these things in place. And what it is just it's a minimum failing grade. So just as an example, I'll talk about Red Bank Valley there because I've spoken with their principal at length. And what they've done down there is if they've seen the student trying to put forth some piece of effort on their own, even despite the fact that maybe they don't have those supports, if they see something from that student to try to remedy this situation, their bottom grade is a 50%. They're still failing, but it's a 50%. It's not a 20% or some 4%, correct. If they see no effort whatsoever, that bottom grade is a 30%. And they have their at Red Bank, if their grade's between 31 and 50%, and they've seen really no effort, they just get that grade, whatever it is, between 31 and 50%. That's kind of a more complicated model. A lot of the other schools have a minimum grade of, like Cranberry area there, minimum grade of 50% for the first semester, the first 2 sets of 9 weeks for a full credit class. And tonight, their principal told me that they are requesting that their board allow them to bump it up to 60%.
Is that just for the last 9 weeks?
Correct.
So I guess here's my question. So my son worked his tail off, right? And he's a half. You know it, he's a half. And he got the best grades he's ever gotten in remote learning. And we have kids who have not, and I understand that they don't have that support, right? But they could have easily went to their teachers, done some things to get some things. I have no problem with discussing this for the time that we were remote, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that we should be doing this, like just making this a permanent thing. How many students are in this situation as of now that you're aware of?
I don't have a full number. I can tell you as far as seniors, because the seniors were the ones that I was most concerned about. I asked Mrs. Lowe, the guidance counselor, I said, do we have any seniors that this could put their graduation in jeopardy? And we have 4 seniors. So, just in my head, thinking down through the number of students that we've been working with, we've done a ton. Believe me, even when students were on the remote learning, online learning, whatever you want to call it, before Christmas there, I brought in 2 substitutes to be able to get on face-to-face on Google Meets with one particular kid all day long to try to get them motivated, to try to give them something so that they could get that work done, understand those concepts, because these kids are in this position because of COVID-19. Yes, maybe they don't have parents at home. They might be living with grandparents. Maybe their parents are working and they can't pay attention to them and make sure they're doing the work. You know, maybe they don't have motivation. That's true for a lot of kids. But let's be honest, it's because of COVID-19 and the fact that we had to go online because of COVID-19. The same students, when they come face to face, I'm thinking of a couple of them. They might not be superstars, but I'll tell you, they're not failures. They're not 4% kids.
So what is the grade that we would be looking at as a minimum for the last 9 weeks?
I would like to see, I'm just throwing out there 50%. If you look at most of those schools there, you know, Keystone's a good example. They have 55%. That's their bottom grade all the time. And I'm not asking for that right now. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for this last quarter that we set something up so that a kid doesn't go from, and I'll use that person as an example, a 92% quarter one, and then quarter two with online learning have a 4%.
So if we made that 50%, then they would have what, like a 70?
Yes, they would have some window of opportunity, because the rest of the year, we still have half a year to go.
Until you're.
It's up to them to get, you know, they're not gonna have superstar grades. They still have that 50% in there. But at least they aren't gonna be so overwhelmed that they just can't see the light at the end of the tunnel because of COVID-19. And, you know, so I'm asking tonight just for the board to consider this, and maybe we can talk about it again, because I can always go back and change those grades, you know, in MMS. I don't need an answer tonight. Would I like one? Yes, I would, but I would like you to think about this, and just think about, you know, what we do as an organization to support kids. Because I know we've had this discussion with, yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, go ahead, Kelly.
I have a question then. Is it possible then that we could wait to see how they perform third quarter? And if they do improve and show that they're increasing their scores while they're done, we can go back and look at rewarding them or helping them out during the second quarter.
But what do you do if we go remote again? And second of all, what if somebody
Some of
like,
them-
you
some
know,
of them are
they're so overwhelmed
mathematically-
that they just stop?
Just done. And again, yeah, if you have
You get
4%,
so
you know you can't pass. I mean, someone might not even want to come to school.
I'm dealing with that actually with one of the schools because she went remote, she couldn't do it. Now she doesn't do it, so.
I know back in 2008, 2009, we looked into a similar situation, and the teaching staff was adamantly against it. I was just wondering, have you got any feedback from the teachers? Because we are pushing our teachers to do the very best job that they possibly can with this online learning. I'm just wondering how they would feel about us making this intervention.
Well, there's a lot of them that don't, they don't want anything to do with it. You know, here's my point again, they're kids, they're children, and they're in a tough situation that it's not their fault. It is not their fault. We as adults, we all know that we've been impacted by COVID-19 in some form or another. You know, you hear about the depression across America, people being depressed and having problems and that lack of motivation and tired because this life is just beating every single one of us down. I guarantee you, we are not 100% performing every single day. And we're going to turn around and expect a kid to perform 100% even online when they have nothing at home to support them. I find it appalling to not recognize that part for those kids, because they are in a position of inequity to begin with. And then we throw them online, which does it even more. It's like they're being just pounded down every single time. So, you know, I'm asking for folks, including my teachers, those hardcore ones that, you know, they want those grades the way they are. I'm asking them to take a look at it and have a little sympathy in their heart for people that just don't have what every other kid has.
have you thought about other options too, as far as extending, time for makeup work, additional extra credit work, anything like that?
We are
And I know some
trying to do that as much as possible. Actually, the last week, and I apologize, I was not in school last week because of quarantine. But we had teachers and a couple subs and Mrs. Lowe working with specific students that totally were missing over this online piece. And working with them, trying to get them caught up, trying to submit work. And, it is helping somewhat, but again, there are kids that are just totally in the hole right now.
Do they need longer days?
I think we all need longer days.
So the ones that aren't even putting any effort in, this won't even help them, in a sense. I mean, it'll reward the ones that are putting an effort in. But the ones that, even though they're here, they're not putting any effort in, we're still not giving them a free grade.
Correct. I can tell you, just from my knowledge of, having these discussions with, guidance and with my front office people, I have 2 kids in the high school that I could say, even before online learning, there were lots of issues that no effort, not even showing up for school, truancy, those types of things. Because of the online part of it, as soon as we go to remote, that number increases to probably, there's, in my mind, I'm thinking 12 or 14 kids that just simply struggle. And like I say, they don't have those things that, my daughter has. Somebody telling her, you've got to get this work done, making sure she has internet, making sure her computer's working properly, the schedule, get up, get your shower, get your Chromebook, get to work. There are kids that don't have any of that. But when they come face to face, again, they'll start working, but if they're in a hole with a 4% for last quarter, that's going to be a tough one to recover from.
So these kids that you are mentioning specifically, have they done the makeup work? Have they taken the time now that we're back in school to get all those?
They're trying, but I mean, we're talking a ton of work.
Okay.
A ton of work. And, I personally, I dislike the whole idea anyhow, because giving kids worksheets, tons of worksheets over online learning, it's not teaching, number one, and that just is not, to me, doing a worksheet is not, there's nothing connected to learning with a worksheet. It's just going through those motions. You're not learning.
How about it, like an after-school program, 2 or 3 days a week, and have these students come in, have a teacher there, a tutor, provide them with big concepts, have them test out, and base that score up of the knowledge that they've acquired. Because just giving a kid a grade, it may help them and give them a little bit more motivation. And I understand where you're coming from, Dr. Jordan. But is that going to help their learning out? Because learning is so sequential, it would almost be better to target what they missed and assess that. Because the worksheet means nothing, but the concepts, if they're able to grasp that, then I think everybody in the room would feel a lot better about that.
And then I do actually like that idea. My first thought was transportation. How
Yep,
we
that's
do this
exactly
now.
what,
I agree.
how are they gonna get home?
Yeah, but I do really like that idea, because then that does help them learn, so that they have the foundation as they move forward with their lessons, that they can continue learning. Because if they miss that great big gap, then how are they gonna continue learning?
We could pass that with our transportation director.
She's saying it all right.
We have vans out there, you know what I mean? We can make another run. It depends on the number of students that we have coming back. We've sent kids home before in the past. I mean, again, that's an additional cost to the district. Just keep that in mind, running additional runs.
But I think
I
that,
did budget for that through PBIS though.
We did run a system, Bill had some after-school stuff going on, and I had a contractor that worked with us.
that's actually a really great idea.
Yeah, I would prefer something like that than just giving the kids the bottom grade. And
And then if they decided not to participate, then they're gonna get the grade that they're gonna get.
right,
If they wanna work hard and get those grades, then, my concern though is if you have something like Algebra 2, who they learn new concepts constantly, how are they gonna keep building on quarter three when they haven't learned quarter two?
Right.
Like, that's where I'm concerned about that piece of it. Because you can't be learning both at the same time, like, you have to have the quarter two learned before you do the quarter three.
Yeah, do you have anybody on your?
My concern is that as a teacher, you know, am I setting a precedent here by saying, okay, I'll accept late work for the last 6 months? If we just let them make up things, I think it needs to be a program where I don't want to make it harder for the teacher to provide materials for these students that they already have. Give it them.
I agree with you, Kelly, and I don't want to, in thinking about this, here's what I think about it, and I struggle because all of us have been affected by COVID-19. Absolutely. We're all doing things differently than we've ever done. And we have to give some leeway to the kids to be able to do that. But here's the struggle that I feel like, especially for those that are in senior high, I think those kids need to be held to a higher level. If we've got 4 seniors that are in jeopardy of not graduating, some of those kids are 18, they're adults. They can do a lot of things now that other students can't, and they're moving on into the real world. And if we give them a grade, how are we preparing them to move on without holding them accountable? And here's the other piece that I feel like that I struggle with is I realize that I'm in that same category as Lena. My kid has the support at home, whatever she needs, you know, we provide that for her. But here's what I've heard from her in the past. Why is it I'm required to be held to this level, a standard, and other kids aren't? I don't understand that. And, you know, we talk about, you know, what other kids might not have, but when you're in 12th grade and you've got 17 and 18-year-olds, how do you explain that? I can't sit here and say to my kid, you know, we're just going to give them the grade. I would prefer something like what David's talking about. Like, they need to earn that grade, and if they need a little more time to do that, fine. I'm okay with that. I'm just not okay with just giving that grade. I struggle with that.
And Kelly, I agree with you. We don't want to overtask the teachers, but I think the teachers would already have the material available. Not every single worksheet, but big concepts every lesson, curriculum down. They could pull out more of the general concepts, have a certified teacher up there to help with the day-to-day education after school. It's just a thought on my part.
So my question is, and
I think it's a good idea. Maybe helpful if you get a committee of teachers together to discuss how we might run it. And we might have COVID money coming again, correct? That we can use to fund this tutoring program?
That's absolutely correct. We have a SR2 grant coming up.
And from my understanding from PBSA, we're looking at potentially 4 times the amount that we got the last time in the ESSER grant.
Yep.
So
And should we also be looking at this on an
I think the tutoring program would be a great thing to implement, and we could also look at implementing it for some of the students who are trying now. You know, even if they're back to school, we might be able to work some of those students in.
Janine, what were you going to say?
I said, and should we also look at it from an elementary level too? And for, I don't know, I mean, I don't know if there's any elementary students that might need some extra help throughout all of this that have gotten left behind, that we do an after-school thing that maybe they can be included.
Yeah, we certainly have some that we benefit from some after-school tutors.
And I was serious about the longer days at the high school. Marcia still has 2 days left.
Absolutely, we'll keep her busy. Yeah, I think that you know, pulling together a committee, taking a look at that at both buildings. I don't have a problem doing that, and I think it's a good idea, you know, in order to provide that support that those kids need without just handing them something without their effort put into it.
my question is, if given that opportunity, knowing you know the kids, and I feel I 110% appreciate how you advocate for the kids, I do. My question is, if we offer it to them, make it available, will they, the kids that you think of,
will they take that opportunity? Or will they say, well, it's not required, I can go home, and then not participate?
If,
You mean after school?
Yeah, if they have the
Okay.
opportunity to do it after school and stay and make up and kind of advance that second quarter grade a little bit,
Yeah.
would they take that opportunity, the ones that you were thinking of?
I think most of them would. If it's faced with not graduating or
Right.
even not going from, say, 8th to 9th grade or 9th to 10th grade, that's a big group right in there. I would say that most of them, there might be, again, one or two that I know of that they won't, right now, we're not able to get them to respond to anything. But I appreciate the input, and what I'll do is I'll discuss it with Lori. We'll come up with a plan. Probably I'll put it with my PBIS team, have them discuss ways of using what we have already and put that into place and call parents and get them involved and offer it to these kids to try to turn that around.
Because if we get that extra grant money, I mean, we could maybe even have those kids like be tutored like a whole day, like on a Friday or something, so that they could get their, you know what I'm saying, so that we could afford a sub to go in and just tutor those kids.
Yeah, we can look at a lot of different things.
Just have that committee think about grading too. If we only give them the big test, like the unit test, or is that gonna be all their grade? Is it gonna be 80% of it? You know, we'll need some nitty gritty as far as figuring out how to assess it.
Okay, thank you.
I think there's probably need more staff than one too, because, for one, you know, with the amount of remediation some of the kids need, if you've got more than 4 to 6 kids with one adult trying to do that amount of work, it's gonna become overwhelming, but also with the COVID factors in place, that we've got to keep them separated, they're in after school, so we can't have like 20 kids and one teacher.
Right.
Trying to.
Right.
Normally we do it with just 1 or 2 staff after school, we have to have more than that will.
And I think when they do after school work like that, that would they get a stipend for doing that, is that, yeah, as part of their contract, so.
I'm just throwing this out there because I just thought of this, Lori, but for, especially for some of the kids that need, community service, could some of the better high school students come down maybe and help some of the elementary schools, like the younger students with some of those things? I mean, if it's not, I'm not teaching new concepts or things like that, it's just helping them get through, helping them read, things like that. It's an opportunity for some of our better students at the high school, the older students.
Yeah, I mean, I always like when the high school kids come and interact, and we haven't done that as much just because of the.
Right.
Mixing between the buildings, but, yeah, my kids love it, my big kids. They even like when the 6th grade comes downstairs. The high school kids are great.
Thank you. That concludes my secondary report.
Federal programs?
We've received the allocation for the ESSER extension grant in the amount of $18,586. And Carrie has submitted our intention of using it to purchase the Y-Tribe curriculum, Chromebooks, and miscellaneous supplies. And then we received information on Friday pertaining to the ESSER 2 grant. AC Valley has been allotted $766,293. Funds may be applied to costs dating back to the onset of the national emergency, which is March 13th, 2020, and are available for obligation by school districts through September 30th of 2023. Dr. McDivitt will be setting up a meeting to discuss the areas that we can use this money. Our federal quarterly reports were uploaded in FAI last week, and also following a yearly grant requirement, the Title teachers in Carolongo are planning a Title I federal program parent information group meeting. And that's my report.
Are you ready for me, Chairman?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
I just have 2 items, just the in-service day today and then a little bit of information coming out of Harrisburg. We did have an in-service day today. We started out with 30 minutes of physical activity. The elementary teachers and aides did an annual diabetic training. And all the staff worked on grades, curriculum, and backup planning. We used today to prepare for any kind of snow day, any kind of transition, and a lot of the teachers did some really neat stuff out there. We also had Trevor Howell present Nearpod to both the elementary teachers and high school teachers. We had small groups who were interested in that. And Trevor and actually Sarah Black had put together backup plans in the Nearpod program. So I think the day went pretty good for the staff. We used it for the day just to get caught up. It was an in-service day, so we had some flexibility. It wasn't an 80 day. So it was appreciated by the staff. Coming out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania Department of Revenue posted that they collected $3.7 billion in the general fund. That's $465 million more than they expected. So they're 14.5% ahead of what they had anticipated. So that's good going into the budget season. The 2021 budget will be addressed by Governor Wolf with his proposal coming out on February 2nd. The Appropriation Committee will meet on March 15 to consider his proposal. Coming out of PD, we also had an updated instructional model recommendation that was aligned with the Department of Health and Governor Wolf as far as getting kids back into school. And they modified the substantial category and elementary school, which is really up to age 14, and I don't know why they brought it up to 14, but they recommend a in-person program or a blended program now. They've actually made a shift. So fortunately, the school board here at AC Valley was spot on with the recommendation for the 11th. So we're back open. And I agree with what Lori said earlier. It was a great call and a really good week last week. We had a couple bumps, don't get me wrong, but the staff's doing an absolutely wonderful job, both in and out of the classroom. There's a lot of information out there. There are different reports being showcased as far as COVID being transferred in school. And it's pretty common that in low incident rates in the community, it has a really low transmission rate, but the higher incidence rate outside of school increases the incidence rate inside the school. You know, we do a really good job as far as wearing the mask, practicing social distancing, washing our hands, spreading it out. You should see this thing in the middle of the day. Kids all over the place eating, and it's amazing. But what our community does outside will dictate our ultimate success. So we have to practice everything that we're talking about here in school while we're outside of school as well. And just as I finish up, Carrie, there have just been some changes in Harrisburg on the Education Committee that I think could benefit the western part of Pennsylvania. We do have Kurt Sunley, he's still the majority chair, but we have Mark Lingotti from Mercer, and he's taken over the minority chair of the committee. So Sonny's up in Erie, and Lingotti's over in Mercer, so that benefits us. Anytime we have a little bit of that western influence, that's always a positive. And that concludes my report on this, and I'll talk a little bit more about the health and safety plan when we get down to it.
School police report?
We had 70 perimeter checks, 70 inside checks.
Yeah.
35 lunch details, that was loading buses and all that good stuff from here down. Parking lot checks, 3. Arrival details, 10. Dismissal details, 10. We assisted administration 13 times. Camera checks 70, and foot patrols probably about 100.
Thank you. Do you want to discuss health and safety before?
I'm not sure. Do you want to make a motion on that, Jen, first, and then we'll talk about it, or do you want me to provide?
Yeah, let's make a motion. So you want to make that motion? Carrie, you want to start that?
So consideration to approve the health and safety plan return to play plan version 6, which we have been supplied with. So moved. Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded, so let's have discussion.
The plan that we wrote back in the summertime to get started on July 1st had the old red, yellow, and green designation. We changed that to substantial, moderate, and low. That was a big change. We aligned the language the entire way through the program. Originally, Red had no face-to-face instruction, so we modified that to substantial, would be based on local data, the dashboard, and our community in the area. And it does provide us with the flexibility, and I added in there the superintendent school board will use that to determine our instructional model. We're also working very closely with the Butler healthcare system, met again with Dr. Love today, guidance from PDE, Department of Health, and the early monitoring system. In addition to that, I outlined the fact that we signed the attestation form and it was submitted into the Department of Ed as well, and that we're following up with any kind of contact tracing that's aligned with the Department of Health. We also made a couple modifications. Hold on. And it was specific to page 29 on quarantine. And we aligned back in June. We thought that if somebody was positive or if they were in contact, that they could quarantine for 3 days, and with the doctor's excuse, they can come back. Well, that's all changed. It is a 10-day quarantine right now. So I had Holly and Tracy review it. So we pulled the information from DOH and submitted this as far as quarantine and how long it takes for people to get back in here. And that includes traveling too. So if you travel out of state for more than 24 hours, you'll have to be quarantined unless you're under 11 years old or it's court ordered. So pretty much the document itself is still solid. We just did some terminology changes. Originally in the lunchroom, we had everybody facing the same way, but we have 2 kids per table, so they can't face the same way. So we modified that language, but they are 6 feet apart. So in the middle of the day, the kids could take off their mask and eat. And we're also encouraging the teachers to open up windows, circulate the air, get outside, take mask breaks. We're being as creative as we possibly can. So I think the comfort level with the entire staff and the students is quite high at this particular time. And I'll finish off by thanking the school board. This is January School Board Appreciation Month for everything that you do. We have a fantastic school district because of the volunteer work that the school board puts in. So thank you all, and that concludes my report.
David, question, are we
Yeah.
getting raises?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in the mail.
Thank you.
We've already mailed them out.
That's where the grandmother got it.
All right, any other questions or discussion for David about the health and safety plan? All right, we'll take a vote on that then. All of those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. All right, moving along, policy. Janine, will you do that, please?
Yes, consideration to approve the adoption of the Pennsylvania School Boards Association Principles of Governance and Leadership as attached. So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Now, before all of you leave, Tammy has that document here, like when we approve that, we sign it, and that will be kept here in the district office. So before you leave, make sure you sign it, and then Tam will get with the 3 of you who are at home to figure out how to get your signatures on that. So thank you all very much. I appreciate that. All right, facilities. I don't believe we have a maintenance report this evening. Mark is off on bereavement leave, unfortunately, so we'll get that next time. Transportation. Anything from transportation?
I don't think there's anything new this time.
That's good news. Okay, good. Miscellaneous. Let me see. Megan, do you want to do miscellaneous?
Career Center reports.
Did anybody go to the Career Center? Did you guys have a meeting?
Yes, and I'm trying to remember.
There's no food online either.
Other than there was the shakeup with the new president, Braxton Smith.
Oh, he's no longer the president, he's the
No,
president?
Joe Bellotti from Seattle.
Okay, from Seattle.
And we had a discussion about the modified return to the Career Center. Tracy Wilson's doing an absolutely wonderful job over there. She came up with some different ideas on how to bring the kids back and maintain the social distancing and everything. And so she's doing a blended thing now, which at least gets the kids back in to the school. Some schools are going Monday, Tuesday, I think Wednesday's off, Thursday, Friday, something like that. I can't remember right offhand. But at least they're not going back full time, but they're at least going back. So I know I reached out to David and he said they have made arrangements here for the kids too, over the days they weren't over there, because they can't do remote at the times. And we had talked at length about when to return based on when the different schools were returning. So it'll be interesting to see how that's worked out in our next meeting.
Okay. Any other questions for the person?
So, I guess this just states that a copy of the unapproved minutes from December 10th, 2020 JFC special meeting are attached. These minutes were to be approved at the December 22nd, 2020 meeting. That doesn't have to be moved, right?
No.
Okay. And then a copy of the unapproved minutes from the December 22nd, 2020 JFC regular and reorganization meeting are attached. These minutes will not be officially approved until the January 25th, 2021 meeting. Intermediate unit report.
Just that actually looking, I do remember. Remember that learning lab I talked to you about, how they were gonna have kids come in and like learn how to like almost live on their own, like doing chores, kitchen, things like that. They did approve the plan for the architect to drop those plans for that room, which is pretty awesome. They hired a new autism teacher, and that's pretty much about it. Nothing that was really noteworthy.
Copy of the board notes from the December 9th. Riverview Intermediate Unit 6 board meeting are attached. And then letter C, correspondence.
Just that I had passed around to those that are here, some thank you notes that I had received for the board. So if you didn't see those, they're up here, so.
Copy of the,
Oh, that's right, so second grade, sorry about that. Second grade, I'm sorry you guys can't see this, but second grade, all the kids, they made this for us. It says second grade, Mrs. Caldwell, Mrs. Scott, Mrs. Quayle, AC Valley School Board, thanks a bunch for all you do for us. Isn't that cute? I love this. So.
That is adorable.
So tell our second graders, we appreciate it very much.
okay, the technology committee updates.
We postponed our technology committee meeting because we had only one tech person out of 3 that were gonna be able to be there, so we postponed it till this Thursday. So we'll have information for you then.
E, athletic committee updates.
We decided that we were going to allow senior parents for both away and home, correct?
Yes.
For the basketball team when they start playing again, but it's also for the girls as well. And we're gonna revisit that at the next meeting. Yeah, we're gonna revisit at the end of January, just to kind of see where the numbers are. Hopefully, the numbers will go down and we'll be able to add more people. Junior high, we decided it was gonna be 2 per parent then too, because the numbers were so low.
I don't recall junior high.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got 2 per parent, but not
2
from
on
the, two of ours, because there was only 11 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not from the opposing team.
Mhm.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, that's from ours.
And I think that is.
He sent out a report too. Did you get that email today?
He sent it out late and I didn't get to read all of
Yeah,
it. So.
some things that we still need to discuss. The math continuing to be an issue. Although I believe our teams have done very well.
For keeping them up while they're playing, I think
Yeah,
that was
that's
an
not
issue that was talked
And the
about.
spectators, and then the audio with the. on the
Yeah, there's,
Live stream.
yeah, we didn't have audio on the live stream, and RJ is working on that. I kind of gave him a little kick under the table about that. I was like, oh, we have to have audio, like, even to hear the whistle blow. And sometimes it's
Yeah.
confusing, so
Yeah.
they're working on that.
I think that's everything.
I think that was everything. Yeah.
And then last is finance committee update.
Well, we continued being graced with M's knowledge.
Yes.
She's been going through the budget with us and explaining all the numbers that we approved, which is actually pretty eye-opening on what makes up that $350,000 or whatever. We do kick around different ideas on maybe how to cut costs and stuff like that, but I like it because it just goes in depth on stuff that, you approve, but you have no idea. I mean, how much actually the cyber schools cost us, stuff like that. And we asked a lot of questions. I got a folder with a lot of information. And I don't know about Megan, I think it has to be good because you're brand new on it.
Yeah.
And I'm
It's very
learning
nice.
stuff for the first time now, so. We meet for, it's supposed to be an hour, it's usually maybe a little longer than that. But I enjoy it.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing that, Mark.
It's worth it to me. I say that every meeting, I say, this is worth it.
And that's why you're the treasurer.
That's right.
That's why I initial that stuff there, and I have no idea what all that is.
All right, any old business that we need to discuss this evening? All right, any new business to be brought forth? Perfect. Would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn to an executive session for school
School safety.
safety?
Yep.
I make a motion that we adjourn to an executive session for school safety.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll take that as an in favor, Corey, thank you. All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.